Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome back to inventory management system tutorials of MVC. This is our lecture number 2, and in today's class we are going to discuss about roles and categories inside our inventory management system. Basically in the previous lecture we have seen users, we have created users table, and now in today's lecture we are going to create roles table and categories table. Basically I have done this, but I will demonstrate how I create these tables, and in today's lecture we will also see about how can we create views and controllers based on these two tables, roles and categories, along with the users table as well. So let's start and see what we have in today's lecture. Okay, so this is the query of my roles table. In the previous lecture we have created users table, and in the today's class I'm going to demonstrate this particular roles table. Basically in an inventory management system we have users, we have admins, we have other accounts departments, let's say we have finance department, we have different departments. So based on different roles I have created this table so that my roles will be dynamic, and on runtime I can add a new role or I can edit a new role and so on. Okay, so role ID, it is primary key and it is identity column, that means auto increment, and then this is the name of the role, let's say admin or user or accounts or merchandise or XYZ, and this is the status. Either this role is active role or it is not an active role. All right, moving forward. Okay, so I have executed this query and my roles table is appearing here with the same details I have written here. Okay, then I have also created another table with the name categories. Basically why I have created this table, because in near future I am going to add products. Okay, so which product is belong to which category. Let's say if I am adding a dairy milk chocolate, so chocolate is a dairy product, or I am adding a milk, so milk is a dairy product, or I am adding some plates or spoons, so that are some kitchenwares, and similarly we have different items that belongs to different categories. So what will be the categories I will store in this table. So in this table I have category ID, that is identity column also, and primary key as well, and we have category name and then the status of the category. Either this category is an active category in our class, or we can say, or it is an inactive category. Okay, so I have also created this table categories. Okay, let me execute this query. Execute this. Commands completed successfully. Refresh your tables. Why I am creating tables first? Because in the previous lecture, in the first lecture, I have discussed already that we are going to apply a database first approach. So that's why I am designing database first, and then we'll move forward towards our MVC application, and we'll create the required controllers and action methods and the views, obviously. Okay, so up till now these three tables are enough. I have one addition or alteration inside users table, that means which user belongs to which role. In the previous lecture I have skipped the role ID inside the users table, so let me add the roles ID inside users table. Okay, for that, for adding a new column inside the users table, I have to write a query here, alter table. The name of my table is users, alter table users, add usr underscore, let me see what I have prefixed in this table, u. Okay, so u underscore role ID. This is, look, if we see the cardinality, one user belongs to one role. It may be one user can belong to different roles, but right now we are focusing on one user can have one role, and one role can have only one user. Okay, so that's the case, that's the cardinality we are trying to create here. So add u underscore rid, that means role ID, and let me write properly. Okay, role ID, and then the data type should be integer. Let's check here what's the data type of our roles table. It's tiny integer, so data type should be same in the next table, tiny integer, then not null, and because this is a foreign key, so I'm creating it as a foreign key, and references. I'm creating a relationship between the users table and the roles table. Okay, so roles, that's my table, and yes, roles, and then what's the column name? Yes, that's the column name, r_id, that's my primary key. Okay, so inside users table I have created another column with the name role id, and I am creating it as a foreign key that will relate to this particular column inside roles table. And what will happen on some actions? On insert, let me zoom it out, on cascade, on update, cascade, and on delete, cascade. What does cascade means? Cascade means that when I delete a role from my roles table, it's when I remove a role, yes, when I remove a role from the roles table, the specified user will also be deleted. Okay, let's say if I delete an admin role, so any number of admins in my users table will also be deleted. Cascade means this. If you do not want this, so you can apply on update no action, and similarly on delete no action. So what will happen when someone tries to delete a role from the roles table, an error will be generated by SQL server that you cannot delete this role until and unless you have associated people inside your roles, inside your users table. Okay, so that's the choice, up to you. What are your requirements? Based on your requirements, you select the necessary operation. Okay, so right now I am applying cascade on cascade. Okay, on update cascade and on delete cascade. So that's the thing I am going to add here inside this table and execute it. Commands completed successfully. Let us refresh our users table and see does the column appear here or not. Refresh it. Look, this is my foreign key. The key is of silver color and the primary key is of golden color. Okay, so this is the demonstration of primary key and foreign key. Now moving forward, and let's go to our application and let's create the very first thing, that are our roles, what can I say, controller and the specific action methods. Let's do it. This is our application that we have created in the first lecture. Right click on your controller, and before right click on your controller, first add your entity framework. Okay, we are using entity framework inside MVC, so add new and new item, and then select, search here entity, or write entity framework. Look, ADO.NET entity data model. You have to select this one, give it a name, let's say MyDB, and click add. Now because you are in MVC mode, so it is asking you that which approach you are going to take here. Okay, either it is a code first approach or it is a database first approach. So I am selecting a database first approach because I have already created my database, right? So click next, and then it is saying to create your connection string. Okay, so I don't have any connection string right now. Let me add a new connection. What's my server name? The server name is same as of your SQL server, that is, give your IP address. Okay, give your IP address or give your PC name. So I am copying my IP address and then I am pasting it here, and I am using Windows authentication, so I am not going to provide SQL Server authentication username and passwords. Okay, after giving IP address and after selecting the authentication mode, I will select my database. So I have created that database inventory DB inside my SQL Server. Now test your connection. Yes, connection is successful. If you have a database file separately, you don't have SQL Server, then select this option and attach your database file. All right, and then press OK. It will generate a connection string for me automatically here on this screen. All right, look, after this step, it is saying to save your connection string inside your web.config file. Yes, web.config file is an XML file that holds the global settings of your application, and your connection string is a global setting, so it will be automatically saved when you check this particular checkbox. Okay, and the name of your connection string will be, let's say, give it a name here, connect, or whatever name you will give here, that will be the name of your connection string. So moving forward, click next. Now it is asking me to which framework I am going to select here for my application, so I am selecting my entity framework 6.0. Moving forward, now my everything is perfect up till now. My database is successfully connected. Now it is saying me to select my tables, and whatever I have inside my database, select everything. So right now I don't have any stored procedures, I have only tables. Look, roles, categories, users, so I am adding all three. Okay, so these tables will be automatically converted into my models or classes inside MVC, and I don't have to create these models again and again. So that's the benefit of using entity framework with MVC. Okay, so I have selected these three tables, and then if you have stored procedures as well, so select these stored procedures. There are two checkbox we have on the screen: pluralize or singularize generated object names. What does this mean? Because of the name conflicts, we have MVC automatically singularize or pluralize the names of your entities or your tables. Let's say if I have categories here, so it will be converted to category. Okay, and if I have roles here, it will be converted into role, so that we will not going to have any name conflict. Okay, so and include foreign key columns as well. Yes, I have created the relationship between my tables, users and roles, so the foreign key columns will also be added inside my MVC models classes. Okay, so all set. Now click finish. Alright, so my entity framework done its work successfully, and now I have a diagram here. It is representing my roles table as a class. This icon is of the class icon, and my users table is now automatically converted into my user class. Look, it has singularized my names, role and users. Alright, and we have other table as well, that is category. Look, okay, singularize and pluralize, that I was saying. So I have three tables inside my this particular diagram. Now these tables are representing as a class. So how can I view these classes? Let me show you. Look, when you add your entity framework, this file will be added inside your project, and inside this file you have mydb.tt with the file tt extension, and look, you have everything that belongs to your database. Okay, if I click on users table, let's see what's inside this users table. Look, the model and the class is automatically created here. Okay, for good work, we need to apply annotations here. We know what are annotations in MVC. Let's say if I create a controller right now directly, these names will be assigned on my views, but I don't want these names to be in the front of the user. I want some user defined or some customized names instead of these names. So what will I do? I will create here some different names by applying annotations. For applying annotations on every property, you have to apply square brackets, and then you have to write here, let's say, key. What is this key? This is the keyword. Look, by default it is giving an error, but I will resolve it, no problem. Let me first tell you what is key. To tell MVC that this is my primary key, I have to mention that this is a key column, primary key column. Why I am mentioning here that this is a key column? Because the name of my column is u_id. MVC will automatically understood that this is an identity or primary key column if you only write here id. If the name of your column was id, then you don't want this particular annotation. Okay, if the name is id, then you don't need this. But if you have some different name like this u_id, then you have to specify that this is your key column. Okay, but now this is generating an error because I have to add a namespace here. Just press Ctrl dot, and it will suggest you that this namespace should be added on the top of the particular class, system.componentModel.data.annotation. So select this class, and now it is imported here. Okay, now Likewise, other annotations I have. Let me add some annotations here. Username. So I wanted to display, this is an annotation, and I wanted to display username instead of, I will give here a string named parameter, that is name equals to, and I'm giving here, let's say, name. Okay, and I'm also applying some attributes here with the name, let's say required, name is required, and what should be the error message. So error message will be select. Look, MVC and the Visual Studio and the IntelliSense is guiding you everything. Named parameters are appearing here. You can use any of these for your application. All right. So error message equals to, and give your error message here, let's say static, or you can write here name required, or field cannot be left blank, whatever you wanted to write the error message, it should be displayed here. Okay, so these two I'm copying and I'm pasting on my every field. This is my username, so I am writing a username, and it is also required, and same is the case you have to do with all. Okay, so let me write all the annotations on all the properties. I'll be right back. Okay, so I have applied every annotation on my every field or model property we have. Okay, but I have this role ID here. When the user's view will be generated, the role ID should not be displayed. Instead of role ID, you have to display all the roles inside a drop down list. For that purpose, I have to navigate first on my roles model. Okay, let's go to roles model and make its particular code. Solution Explorer and roles. This is my roles class, and inside this roles class I have to do again what I have done in the previous class. This one, copy this, sorry, which code I have added here, users and then roles. I have copied this namespace and add this namespace here as well, and then inside this roles you have to specify that this is what, this is the key column, and this is our name of role. So copy this code here and paste it here as well. Okay, so it's role and it's required also, and its status should be in the drop down list. I will tell you how we can create drop down list. So this is status. Okay, all set. Make it arranged in a line so that everything will be understood in a better way. Okay, so now my roles table is also my roles model is also now set. Now what to do? Inside roles I have the status drop down. How can I create a drop down? Let's see. Okay, the last thing we have the status, and status will be displayed with this name. And now we are going to create our very first controller inside inventory management system. Okay, so Solution Explorer, right click on your controllers folder, add new controller, and I'm going to select this controller, MVC5 controller with views using entity framework. So my views and everything will be automatically generated. Click add model class. Okay, so before selecting this model, let me first build my app so that my app will be updated in the backend. You also have to build your app first before creating your controller, so that everything will be updated automatically. Add controller with views, add, and now it is saying to select your model class. So I have my model class name, and then the data context class is my this inventory DB entities. Generate views automatically. Okay, if you wish to manually create your views, so uncheck this particular checkbox. Okay, and layout page and use referencing and libraries, everything, and the name of my controller will be roles controller. So add scaffolding. Scaffolding is a feature that will automatically generate your views based on your models. Okay, all right, my controller has been generated successfully with the name roles. All right, this is my controller, this is the object of my data context class inside MVC framework, and this class, this DB, is responsible for all the CRUD operations that will take place on my web application when I run this program. Okay, the first action method inside this MVC application is the index action method. So when you run this particular controllers on your browser, this action method will be displayed by default. So what will be displayed? DB is your data context object dot roles. Inside your data context object you have roles, and the roles will be displayed in a list format on this index action method. Okay, then you have details, and then details action method. This action method is responsible for displaying the details of your roles, and and similarly you have create, and you have everything that we need in a CRUD operations in MVC is automatically applied here via scaffolding. Okay, the validations are already there, and whatever we need here is already applied, and look, the database code is already written, everything. Okay, we'll discuss this code step by step, but first let us run this program and see what is the output of the work up till done by us. Alright, so my application is on my browser now. My roles controller is by default open here, and let me tell you one thing. If you run your application when you are trying and nothing is displayed here, so write your controller name, that's it. Okay, it will display your controller, and the default action method is index. So if I write here index, let's say index, so the result will be same. Okay, so it is understood by MVC that if you omit your action method, it will by default open the index action method. Okay, so in index action method right now I do not have any role here, so create new. Look, we will change the theme of this default template, we will change it to our particular requirements, but right now just demonstrate it. Okay, look, because the status I have taken inside byte, so by default MVC has created a text box with the numeric up down feature. Okay, so we will change this into a drop down into active and inactive. So right now let's say I'm going to add a role, that is admin, and right now for this particular today's class we'll see like this as well. So create, look, the database the data inside the role table is successfully inserted. Now you can edit this also. Look, the data is coming, you can see the details. Look, the details are coming, and you can delete it as well. So it is asking you to confirm. If you confirm this delete button, then the data will be deleted. Okay, so this is how this is the very first thing that we have seen inside our what can we say it roles model. Now let's create another model of our users particular model. Sorry, let's create a controller first. Solution Explorer, and right click here, add, and controller, and which controller? Yes, this controller, add, and the name of my model will be, let's say, category, and you can create users model as first, then generate views, and okay. Now it will be created automatically, the users window, and then after this, look, the whole code is generated automatically. We will discuss this code later. And then now I am creating another controller with the name categories, and then the data context class is the same, and generate views. Alright, all set. Now let's run our application. You have to write here the name of your controller, users, that was users, right? I haven't set the default what can I say, default controller in the root.config file, that's why that is coming like this. Look, the column names are scaffolded here. Okay, when I create new, click on create new. Look, I haven't applied role ID, but look, admin is appearing automatically. Instead of role IDs, admin is appearing automatically. So I have to scaffold this column as well, or I have to apply annotation on this as well. Let me do this. For that purpose, I have to go to my roles controller and roles model, and inside roles model I have to users model, I have to change the role ID to some name, that is, let's say, role. Okay, role. And now run this program. I'm not setting the default home page right now because I haven't created any home page. When I create the login page, then I will create the default action within the root.config file. So right now I'm directly typing here the name of my controller users. Let's see what will happen. Okay, now it is changed to role. Create new. No, it still remains the same. What I have done, let us write annotation here as well on our role property. Now run this program. So I have changed its name, display name as select role, but maybe there is a problem, but we'll resolve it, no problem. But right now just add a user here. Let's say I'm adding a user, Ali Raza, and the username is, let's say, Ali Raza, and the password field. Here we have a mistake. You have to apply the data type of the password so that it will become the password. So let us do this first and then continue. For password, you have to specify an annotation, that is data type, and give here data type of password. You can give any data type to any model property. Okay, so this is password. Now let's run this program. Write users, okay, create new, the name of the user Ali Raza, username Ali Raza, password 12345, and phone number. You can apply regular expression on your phone number so that it can validate the phone number perfectly with respect to your country and your organization. Okay, let's say 0345-123-1231, and then your email aliraza@gmail.com, and then status. So status should also appear in a drop down. I'll see in a later class, but right now I'm entering 1. That means this is an active user and it belongs to this admin role. Create. Error has been occurred. What is the error? View details. Validation failed for one or more entities. Where is the validation? We have failed it to validate the user. Let's see what. Right, so sorry for that, there was an error, but when I rerun this application, look, so my data has been inserted successfully. There is no problem. Okay, so for today's class I am stopping right now. In the next class we will see the further work in this inventory management system. Let me first add another user so it will be clear to everyone who are looking in the previous record. So let's say Yasir, and the username, let's say Yasir. But first let me use here roles. Okay, let me create a new role. The role name is, let's say, sales. Okay, and the status is 1. Okay, now I have 2 roles, and now I'm going to users, and I'm going to add a new user, Yasir. Username is Yasir, password is 12345, phone number is something like this, email address, let's say yasir@abc.com, and status is 1 by default. And instead of admin, look, now I have 2 things, admin and sales. So create. So I have applied a breakpoint here to validate the error, but now I am skipping it. Step out. Look, Yasir is added successfully into my system. Okay, so the code is working perfectly up till now. We'll continue in the next class. Hope you have enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any query, please do write me. Thank you so much. Take care. Allah Hafiz.